Hey, everybody, John Shallow and Don of Eat Sleep Cruise. And of course, I'm with Cruise Addicts. But so good to have you here. And Don, what are we covering today?
Oh, John, well, good to have you here too, John. So
Thank
we are covering, of course, your questions, some cruise updates, and then things you never want to forget on a cruise. Have you ever forgotten something, John, on a cruise?
Yes, I did.
Oh, awful. So we're gonna have 15 things you should never forget to cruise. Make that checklist for you. And then, of course, like I said, let us know some of your cruise questions. Let us in the comment section. Let us know who you are, where you're at when you're taking a cruise. John, we can. You already introduced ourselves, but do you have some cruise? Where are you cruising next?
Well, hopefully, I know we're going to be, both of us are going to be checking out the MSC Meraviglia in New York City at the Brooklyn Cruise Terminal, I believe it's called. So we're going to get a preview day with her. We're going to be excited to be able to check her. I've never seen that class of ship, so I can't wait to see her up close. I know you've got the beautiful LED screen, and it's just really, really nice. Can't wait to see that up close. And I know we have something we have been talking about Alaska, and I've got some Norwegian Cruise Line potential Alaska assignment. We're maybe on the Norwegian Spirit coming in early May, so we can't wait for that. We're really excited that all this Alaska talk, the cruise guys bestowed me with the potential to go there, so I can't wait for that. Glaciers are calling my name, and my wife's too.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can never talk enough about Alaska. So if the internet's good enough, love to get alive with you in Alaska. If not, we can do some preparation because you said May 9th. That's less than a month away. So you got to start packing and planning.
I know. I've been trying to buy some new gear, trying to be cool, so we can do some really cool things. Really can't wait for it. What it's going to do. It's been crazy. We really, really hoped something with Alaska would come. I know we had talked about something else before we recorded other times that something else was in the work, completely fell through. We were totally excited about that. But then this popped up, and now we're just really, really jazzed, and we can't wait to see it. The Norwegian Spirit, if you guys didn't know, got a $100 million refit, again, 2020. Really, really cool. That cruise line, that ship was originally went way back with the cruise line. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but I'll have to remember. But really, really cool. So the whole ship is very, very innovative and really, really nice. So I could go on and on, but I won't.
Yeah, we'll be sure to follow along with you too. We got some folks already talking. You mentioned Alaska, like just brings folks out. So we got Tom on YouTube. He's got Alaska in his plans. We have Kevin over in Lakeland, Florida. Maybe Alaska is in his plans. And then Adam on YouTube, Matthew on Facebook. So great. Wherever you're checking in, let us know when your next cruise is. And yeah, we also might have plans to go to Alaska too, also with Norwegian, but on a different ship a little bit later. So we'll be talking a lot about Alaska. But enough about Alaska. Of course, folks, let us know what you're doing. There are definitely some news stories. I don't think include Alaska this week, right? Alaska's not in the news.
No, I don't think so. Let me see. Gotta find where my stuff is. There it is. Mike, I'm a little disjointed today. Please have to forgive me. Don's gonna have
Don't worry. Just in case, folks, if John starts sweating, it's not that he's nervous. His AC, right? It just kicked.
Yes, I'm having AC issues. So, like you said, if you're watching, please check in. Let us know where you're going, what cruises you have going. Please give us a like and subscribe wherever you're watching us. Donna is, of course, at Eat Sleep Cruise, and I'm at Cruise Addicts, both.com. So we've got cruise news. Are we going to cover that?
Yeah, let's and then we can take some questions, talk about those things you don't want to forget, and then see where the night takes us. Yeah.
Yes. So there's so much going on. I know Norwegian Cruise Line is adding Starlink. That's like the big thing. Everybody's talking about it. There's been so many cruise lines. I think Royal Caribbean was one of the first. Now Norwegian's cruise line has added it. I know I've got people, a friend of mine just was sailing on Celebrity. They have it. I think Viking has now had it. So there's all these different cruise lines slowly adding these things. Sometimes it's been announced, sometimes it hasn't been announced, but they're coming out. They're adding into the entire fleet. They're not messing around. All these cruise lines, once they make a public announcement, and they're saying the speed is incredible.
We've been able to experience it in the Caribbean. We haven't tested it yet in Alaska, so that'll be the real test. I'm not sure. As it said, it's rolling out. MCL Breakaway will be the first ship, and then it kind of depends where the ships are. I'm not sure if they'll have it in Alaska in time, especially you said you're going a few weeks. But that's like to me the best test because Royal Caribbean has really good internet before. They had OB3 and they had their boom. Did not work the greatest, and we've never done them in Alaska, but it worked great other places. But Celebrity Air sister brand. I had some good internet. Worked way better in the Caribbean than it did in Alaska. Been Princess, Holland. Alaska is kind of like the last area of the world where if you have a good internet there, it's going to work anywhere. So
The last frontier, isn't it?
what?
It's truly the last frontier.
It is, I guess so, especially when it comes to internet. So Starlink, that, and of course they haven't really said too much more, but I assume might see. I mean, their internet prices might go up just to reflect the better quality, right?
Yeah, or maybe there's all these different packages, and that's one thing I have noticed. I don't want to get too much off topic today because I know we could both talk. But
that's off topic. Nah, never happens.
But one thing about Starlink, you actually need to make sure that they move over like in an arc. So if there's not a constellation of those small satellites coming right over where you're at in Alaska, you may not have a good signal yet. Whereas of course they're working in other areas, but that's why they're putting out so many of these, 50 satellites at a time or whatever, 250, I forget. There's been so many they put out, like in one launch, they put out so many of these small satellites. So it's the coverage is going to grow, but it's not a perfect thing. So compared to traditional satellites where you just have one big boy over, over the central part of the country, But yeah.
Well, anything's better. Anything's better than the old system. I think Starlink, we've tested on other cruise lines. I think it's a vast improvement. So looking forward to giving it a test on NCL.
Yeah. Oh, what I was about to say is sometimes they'll have no streaming on some of these new things. Like you have to pay if they even have it. I know we've been on some cruises recently, and you can't stream. So it's not all of them, but there's been some that I think we both run one where you couldn't stream anything. No YouTube, no live, no nothing. So there's sometimes depending on the brand, it has limitations. So
yeah, or they just you have to pay more, and then you're right. Sometimes they don't even offer the streaming for whatever reason. It might be the region or the bandwidth. So, but internet's come along, which is to be fair, right? Remember back the old days, you had to pay per minute, and it felt like dial up speed, and that wasn't that long ago. So the fact that you're on a cruise ship in the middle of whether it's Alaska, Mediterranean, the Caribbean, Bahamas, and you can sometimes stream and watch movies on devices or listen to music or just go on social media. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Right. Yeah. And once again, I know me and Don are just talking like no one's here, but please give us a comment. Let us know you're here. We want you to check in, say hello. We really appreciate it. And I'll try to talk faster and get back in here. We got more news. And the big news is I know we're both big Viking fans. They're added another Nile River ship. So they've been building out these river ships in the Nile region. So you could take a cruise to Egypt. 82 guests, the Viking Aton. Really, really cool. They're beautiful, those ships. I mean, they only hold 82 people. So yes, this is a luxury experience, but I tell you what, I know we both love Vikings. So if you want a real true bucket list experience and you want to see a part of the world that most people never get to see in the Nile River region, check it out.
Yeah, that's definitely on our bucket list. Love to get there.
Yeah.
So, I can't think of a better way to see than on a cruise or on a Viking cruise. And they're adding a number of ships because they're so small, right? I think they're trying to get up to 6. So essentially, they can have like a cruise leaving every day or every other day, depending how long the itinerary is.
Yeah, and I know the demand. I mean, I have the Viking group. The demand for just all the Viking cruises, they're selling 2025 now.
Wow.
Because they've sold out 2024, and now because those are pretty much sold. Most sailings. That's why they keep leapfrogging to other years because that's what they're in the job, of course, to sell cruises. And once all the capacity's filling up, they have to keep moving on because they want to fill the demand. And we both know that's how they kind of built the company. They had so much demand. That's why they put out 6 river ships at a time, or they built so many other things because the capacity was much, much lower than the demand. So they could literally just take those big leaps and put out Guinness World Record amounts of ships at one time because they actually had the tickets sold.
Right, and to be fair, they only hold so many individuals too, so
yeah,
they're able to build them a little bit quicker because they're kind of carbon copies of each other, and even the long ships, which hold like around 150 or so, right, or 150, 180, depending around there, so they can christen 5 or 6 of them at a time because the shipyards can just kind of knock them out. But Viking, they're great. Even their ocean ships, we've sailed on too. Their ocean expedition, so I'm putting that. I guess I'm gonna have to put that on my 2025 list. They're already sold out for next year to do the Nile River.
Yeah, put us both down for 2025.
put us both down. So
Yes. So, celebrity cruises, this surprised me because we all know Lisa.
hmm
I,
you know Lisa John?
yeah, I have met Lisa, but
Okay, good.
I have to say her name properly. I knew I was going to go down this road, but Lisa is the president, and I don't want to mess her last name up because I'm gonna. But she's moved to a different position. So Laura Hodges Bethge is now the new president of Celebrity Cruises, and we're very happy for her. And I know Princess Cruises. This is a really big thing. I didn't see this coming. Did you? That Princess Cruises has come out with new dining concepts.
We hadn't expected that. Kind of did a little bit. I think
Well, you
everyone
might have,
knows
yeah,
a
you might
little
have.
bit. Rudy Saldamar is kind of a Carnival Corp superstar when it comes to restaurants. He's got restaurants on Carnival Cruise Line. He's got them on Holland America Line, and now Princess Cruises is introducing this new seafood restaurant featuring recipes from him. So it just sounds like a natural next step for that whole corporation.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's called. Um, The Catch by Rudy, of course, the signature seafood restaurant. It's going to be on, I believe, the Enchanted Princess is on there now, and it's going to be coming to Majestic Princess, Sky Princess, and Discovery Princess in the future. And they're also adding an O'Malley's Irish Pub, and it's set to debut aboard the Enchanted Princess. And
Yeah, I
then,
think that's replacing the current pub they have, the gastro pub there, which we actually experienced on Majestic Princess,
okay,
and I think Discovery Princess there. So they actually, I think we mentioned this last time we talked. We were able to go to see Sun Princess
yeah,
in the shipyard, and on the Sun Princess plans, they had the O'Malley's Irish Pub there, but didn't say anything about it. So now it looks like this is a concept. Obviously, not only going to be on Sun Princess, but it's going to be on some of their other ships. And it just, I feel like I want to know more. Right? Is it
yeah.
going to be included? Because the gastropub wasn't. Right? The food was extra as an upcharge. Obviously, the drinks were part of the drink package and included. But I'm wondering because they're taking the gastropub and it seems like they're moving it to the pool deck, so shifting things around. And I wonder how that's going to play with like what's included and what's not.
Well, I tell you what, a great menu. A little upscale menu. I mean, an Irish pub really. You could have shepherd's pie. You could have chicken wings. You could have really good fish and chips. So
Mhm.
many different things. I know burgers. I mean, you go to a good Irish pub, they got some great, options. So really,
Right. So time will tell when those are launching soon, and just in time for Alaska. And I think Enchanted's over in the Mediterranean when that ship launches. These new restaurants too. So we couldn't go. We've been here 10-ish minutes without talking about food.
yes. And Hot America, excuse me, Princess, if you're listening, please put us down in 2025 for that as well, because we want to check out the food. We could both do a food video, where we eat the food. I've never done a video like that. Have you done that where they just literally film you and they're like,
Just me eating. Well, I don't want to make people sick. A
those
social,
vloggers-
yeah. I mean, social shorts all the time. People must get sick of me eating hamburgers and lobster tails and steak. We haven't done a full feature on YouTube, but folks, let us know if you do. Our first cruise of the year is actually going to be most likely in Royal Caribbean. So I'm definitely thinking of testing out the new main dining menu there because it's brand new. We haven't sailed on the ship since December of last year, so it'll be 5-ish months. So we might do something there, but we don't do a lot of long form food content.
I just know some of these vloggers literally. If you watch the videos, they're filming the whole time they're eating them. Like they do a really good job. So, you know,
Listen, you want to pay me to eat? You don't have to. You don't have to say.
maybe
You don't have to say twice. It sounds
maybe
like come on board. We want you to make a complete dining video, and we're going to invite you on. Then I'm there and sign me up.
it could be just Italian restaurants. We could do that.
I don't anything. But Italian, of course, my
God,
specialty.
God,
Italian
we're
Heritage.
going to go to the Italian restaurants. First of all, how's the bread? How's your meatballs? Okay.
Number one, bread. Bread is the first test of any Italian restaurant. You know it, of course.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's done. So
That out of your system? I don't think it is.
we can just end right here. We just want to end we're got 14 minutes in. We're good. So Holland America Line is celebrating 150th anniversary. That's all. It's only 150 years.
Oh, but it's just a little bit. Century now.
It's a little ferry thing there. Not.
Yeah, actually, we have I think some friends, some folks are on a transatlantic sailing to kind of commemorate the history of Hallmark Line. Right, they're known for bringing millions of immigrants into the country through Ellis Island and tons of other amazing things throughout their history. So Hallmark line is definitely known for having that pass. Also, 75 years in Alaska too. So they've been around a little while. They know what they're doing. And they, speaking of 24 and 25, I think they've also released a bunch of new itineraries for different regions of the world, like the West Coast and South America recently too. But right now, that sailing, I think it's over a weekend. So I want to say it was like a 10 or 12-day transatlantic from New York to Rotterdam, where they're doing the celebration to commemorate this milestone.
Yeah, really. I love Holland America. The ships are beautiful. So much. I mean, they have like $1 million art collections on board. They're very calming and soothing. First class service. Amazing food. Amazing. I think we talked about how there was amazing food at the Half Moon Cay. I was saying, like really, upper class cruise fare. Really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that main dining room ranks at the top of many cruise lines, and also the specialty dining too. If you want to pay a little bit more, they have the newer ships have the Rudy Seafood Restaurant, some of the best seafood I've ever had on a cruise ship, and they have a solid steakhouse. And then I'm a big fan of the buffet. I like the way it's organized and it's predictable. Kind of, they have their theme stations, and you know what to expect. They have salad bar, a deli, pasta station, things like that. So yeah, you can't beat the food there either. But yeah, especially when you're on a cruise for 12 or 13 days, I think that I don't know if my waistline could handle that on a transatlantic.
Yeah, it's great though. It's a good problem to have, right?
Yeah, elastic waistbands. Is that what you're saying?
That's why they have those things.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
So happy 100. I guess we're saying a happy 150th anniversary.
Yes, we're very. We remember when it started. Not really.
Well, we don't age. We remember. Don't start with the.
John pretends to be young, but he's very ancient.
I am older than I look. I have decent genes, but John doesn't remember the dig that Heidi gave him last time regarding when he started Cruise Addicts and how old we were. So we're not going to go there. But
I don't remember.
We haven't been around that long.
I'm so old I don't remember that dig.
You know. Is that all we got? Is that what we have for news? I think that's kind of some of the major highlights. If we missed anything, let us know in the comments. Some big announcements. Of course, there are a few other minor things heard about, but I know we didn't talk. We talked briefly about Lisa leaving Celebrity, but she's just kind of transitioning off, right? So they're giving a new woman, an opportunity to be the president, and then it seems like that's the trend, right? We basically all the major cruise lines in the last couple of years have kind of been passing the baton. Right? Arnold Donald, and then we had Bain, and then we heard earlier last month technically that Frank Del Rio is stepping down from Norwegian Cruise Line Holdings, a parent company there for Norwegian Cruise Line and Oceanians. So I feel like there's just like new wave of leadership coming into the cruise industry in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of change in the guard going on, and there's just I think it's unfortunately it's been very dynamic. We both can agree on all fronts. From COVID, I think all these companies, there's that's a whole conversation and live stream by itself, that all these companies have the challenges, but we know the demand is really, really good. People are ready to travel. Ships are selling out. So very, very excited. And I think they're adapting and overcoming the challenges that come there. And then travelers like us and cruisers are just excited about it. And it seems like the pricing is still really good. So that's great.
Hit or miss. I think we talked about this there. That's definitely cruise fares for some hot ticket items are higher than we expect, but we have some folks. We just put out a video, speaking of Alaska, about budgeting for Alaska, and in the comments we have some folks sharing some of the great deals they've gotten, and then other folks being like, "Well, this is how much I paid, but I'm going. This is what I'm doing. It's a bucket list opportunity for me to do some of those excursions and other things." So it does vary as far as cruise fares, but yeah, overall, I think the new folks are coming in and trying to change the direction or change some of these things with cruise lines, and we're excited because lots of new ships coming out, which we covered before, and just getting some new blood in there, some new ideas.
Yeah, it's the changing the guard.
So we don't forget. We got a couple questions already. You want to hit a couple questions folks are asking and jump into the things? Yeah, let's see. We got some questions here. We got Adam over on YouTube. We're riding on the Discovery Princess in a few months. What should I bring with me? Wow, that's a pretty broad question. We haven't covered too much packing, but we can definitely cover packing in the future. What are the kind of the top three things, John, you think Adam should bring?
Wow. Let's see. I'm honestly, I try not to bring much. Because
you're a minimalist?
Yeah, I really, I mean, I used to try to bring cups and like a big beverage bucket. We used to have cruise beverage buckets at one time, and all this other stuff. And it comes down to it, especially now with weight, you know,
Mm.
what do you really need? I mean, um, you of course want multiple bathing suits. Maybe pack your bathing suit in a carry-on, because if you get out early enough, you can go right to the pool. And while everybody's trying to walking around, you looking, for a buffet or something like that, or just wasting time or something, you can actually get your party started and go to the cruise or go to the pool. I mean, so that's that's a nothing new, but that might be something you want to pack. You want to pack in your carry-on, and then
That's one thing. So bathing suit, 5 minutes later. So I agree with you.
yeah. So yeah. How about you? Any suggestions?
So definitely bathing suit. Make sure, of course, you have your passport or documentation with you. We're all about layers. So whether you're in Alaska, I think, or the Caribbean, right? You want to have clothes that's multi-purpose. Some of those, the wrinkle-resistant wick material, some of those new shirts I've been wearing, they're quick dry. If you're a cruise line, Princess does have washing machines on most of the ships. I'm pretty sure that ship would have it. So you can always do laundry too. So I agree with John. We're trying to pack less and less, but here comes the shoe being thrown at me because Heidi's like, we're still packing all the stuff. Don't think we're going to get away with just one suitcase or something.
I'm sorry, Adam. I have to apologize. I'm like the worst. I'm like the worst sometimes. I'm getting better. I got better this past year, but I pack the last minute sometimes. But I'm starting to get my certain things I like to have. But I pack. I mean, a lot of times pack all this stuff and you can almost get rid of a quarter of it. So
right,
because you can mix and match. I mean, all those things, all these people, you can have some people that say, I never do that, or I do that. Yeah, they do. You can't pack everything nowadays. Otherwise you'll get caught at the counter at the airport, and they'll be like, you need to go back over here and give me $100.
Well, you got to get a luggage scale. So another thing, Adam, you pack luggage scale.
Oh yeah.
I'm a pro at we're good at getting to 48 pounds, 47, 48 pounds in a suitcase, because 50 is where you pay more. Domestic flights usually.
Yeah, definitely so it's not what you pack. Go to one of these discount stores like Ross or Marshalls, and go to the left, and there's that whole travel section, and you'll find you can get a packing scale, luggage scale thing there. Really, it's worth every dollar. And if you go somewhere else, it's probably gonna be 2 to 3 times as much. So you get some great deals on that stuff. Pillows, head pillows, and I like to get luggage there too sometimes, like especially for like a carry-on where you don't. It doesn't need to be high end, but I had one lasted forever, and it was like, nothing expensive because it's
right. I mean, I agree. I agree in the luggage, especially if you travel. Folks traveling long distances, your luggage just gets beat up.
Yeah,
you're better off just buying cheap luggage that is going to last a few years and going to buy a new one than spending a lot of money on brand name luggage that also probably only lasts a few years too. So speaking of luggage, Ellie wants to know, I don't know if Ellie's a man or woman, can Ellie pack it just a carry-on? Have you ever gone on a week cruise? This is Royal Princess, I think it's going to be in Alaska, with just a carry-on.
No. And I actually commented about this. Colleen McDaniel.
Sure.
And she actually commented. It was on LinkedIn, and she said that she does it. That I need to try it. And I said, because I basically said I don't think I can do that. And she said it was liberating, quote, liberating. But I really don't think. Now, me and you talked about this off air about that, about using those moisture wicking type of clothes, where a lot of people that travel, you start seeing what people do. They really are. I think you have to be very creative with your clothing, and kind of separate your day. You're going to be on the beach, or are you going to be, what type of cruise is it? Is it a beach cruise? That's a lot of bathing suits and shirts like that. Some stuff you can literally rinse out. Sometimes there's a washing machine on board, like with Viking, you can walk around the corner and do a quick load. You can send stuff out. Sometimes it's very affordable to even do that on your cruise. So a lot of times what I'm trying is you don't need to pack a lot if you're very creative about it. You can still look great and you can be dressed to impress, but if you're, I guess, more strategic about it, you can have best of both worlds. And kind of like me and you've been traveling more, and we've met a lot of other people that travel even more than me and you travel. And I'm starting to see, sometimes they'll have certain clothing, and that's how they can potentially do these types of carry-on type of, or really minimalistic packing because they're packing really, really smart. I'm not that smart yet, but I'm trying to learn. So that's what I'm trying to say.
I'm not that smart either. So a 30 and a wake up made a comment here. I've been traveling 4 years and just to carry on. I'm currently living on a cruise ship just to carry on. That I need a wake up call on that
So
one.
can I rant for a minute? So this
I'll
is
put you on the clock. Go.
okay. I know we're running out of time, but so I'm sitting at the airport. Here I am, and I see all these people. And honestly, I had stuff in my carry-on, but then I go through the carry-on, right? And I'm going through TSA. I got to open it up. I got to take all this stuff out. I got to separate it, right? And I'm getting shaken down. Then I have to get on the plane, right? Then I have to hope that there's an overhead bin and hope that someone doesn't want to, wrestle me for it. And because I don't want to make me look bad in front of everybody, right? Because I'm gonna get my spot. So no, but it's just it. But so back up a little bit. Now I try not to bring a carry-on. I even had a backpack recently with a lot of travel gear and stuff in it, like gear stuff, and I try not to do that either. If it's something where I don't need it, I'll pack it because I just don't want that. I don't want to deal with it because of all what I just said. And I know it's risky, but even now I'm sitting there at the airport. You see people; they've got it's like a bunch of nomads in the desert with all this stuff, with all these bags. It's just too much. Like, just check this stuff. What are you trying to prove? You know what I mean? That's just the way I feel. Like, I don't get it. There's no overhead bins.
Right. When your backpack is bigger than your body, like that's not a carry. I do agree. So we always fly. Actually, I love this. Oh, where is it? This is from Tom on Tom Hunt. I think it's on YouTube. Where are your wives? I mean, Heidi's a worse offender. I mean, we will blatantly admit we pack way too much. So I don't. She's not gonna help the conversation. But I do agree with you. Like, what constitutes as a carry-on? People push that limit, and I'm sitting like, if you can't pick up my other rule too, we're going off on tangents. Don't worry.
And then I'm not.
If you can't get your carry-on above you because it's so heavy, like then you check that. Like, check that. Just pay the $30 or fly Southwest where you get free bags. Because I see so many people like. It must be like a 40-pound bag, and they just can't even get it up over it. It's like it's still on the plane. I don't know. It's crazy.
They've got like 3 jackets on. I mean, like I said, they look like they're going through like a trek through time here. Hats, 3 hats, and all these jackets, and all this backpacks, and little bags, and this bag, and I don't know, puppies. It's crazy. So it's just too much.
Well, I guess puppies they have to bring on. You can't. I guess.
And then you have to go to the front there.
I don't think we're helping Ellie. So Ellie, the short answer is we've never done it, but there are definitely pros. Other folks in the chat and comments saying they only go carry on. Heidi's aunt and uncle did it once, and I think actually a couple times. I think they've done some Norwegian cruises with just carry-ons each, 1 carry-on per traveler. But we're not there. We're like a full suitcase plus a giant backpack.
We need to have John and Colleen on here one night and just like tell us the secret, because we obviously, what I'm trying to say, Ellie, is I have no clue how to do that. I don't think it's even possible. We've been married to wives, okay, that just this is not even possible. It's not even in our we can't even speak it properly. It's not in our dialogue. It's how do you even do that? I don't get it. And then you go to the airport, like I'm saying, and these people have all this stuff, and it's like, what are they doing? And they got to go fight things. Then you got to go. Now, the last thing is you got to go and scan your car. And if you scan your thing, and if you're on a discount airline, you better shell out $50 to $60 for each carry-on. Otherwise, you're going to go to Spirit Airlines jail, and they're going to lock you up and shame you in front of 200 passengers. It's crazy.
I feel like there's a story that I don't want to go down. That seemed very personal the way you were saying that, but I guess whether you're flying or not, listen, if you can pack and carry on, great. Just be able to, apparently our advice is be able to pick it up.
If you've traveled if you've been to the airport on certain airlines, Frontier, Spirit, and you've sat there and watched the public shaming that goes on from people that have to wedge their bags in this thing, and they give you a preamble speech. If you do not this, we're going to charge you $100 from the gate, or you can buy it in the next 5 seconds on your app. It's crazy. It's crazy. So
I've never flown that, regardless of what I think we had some friends in the audience say about Spirit. I've never flown Spirit Airlines, so I'm just going to leave it there. But any other before we go too off on other tangents, I think those are a couple of questions folks were asking us. A bunch of folks going on Princess. Amanda Amanda loves that Viking ships don't have casinos. I love that too, right?
What was that? I'm sorry.
No
Still,
casinos on Viking ships.
yeah, love it.
Love it.
I don't.
They charge enough. They don't need.
You don't have to walk through the casino with all the smoke and all the and seeing the people just sitting there like just pushing buttons repeatedly with a cigarette.
Yeah, those are called slot machines.
It scares me.
It scares you? Oh, right. We already know about your spirit.
I'm sorry. I'm in a weird mood today, people. I had some really bad news about my air conditioner.
Don't worry. We're keeping you alive. All right. So things you shouldn't forget on your cruise. If we miss something, I'm sure there's tons of things you should never forget. But what's the most? We'll start. What's the most important thing you've forgotten when you were going on a cruise? Like the thing that's essential, and you realized you didn't have it when you got there.
I'll have to think. I try not to forget anything because you really.
I'll try not to forget, but everyone forgets.
I don't know if I've forgotten anything. No, this past year I've left stuff in places coming home. I've never forgotten anything in hotels and stuff like that. But the more you do something, the more chances to have problems. So I've lost medicine this past year, like all of it. Like I left. I think it was on a ship. I left all my medicine on a ship. Luckily, because that can be a challenge when you call your doctor and say, "Oh, by the way, renew everything right now." Yeah, good luck with that. But I don't know, the pharmacy gods are on my side and they renewed it all. But that was a big thing. Trying to think what else if I've ever forgotten anything.
Doesn't sound like it. So, because you have these lists, right? Because we have the list of things that you should be bringing on board with you. So
yeah,
some easy ones, things not to forget. This is super important, right?
Yeah.
Get the cruise lines app on your phone.
Yeah.
Even if you don't plan on buying the internet, right? Because more and more cruise lines are kind of doing away. They're going paperless. So they're doing away with paper besides like art auction announcements.
And don't wait till you're on the ship or in the cruise terminal. Right. Your connection is going to be shot because you're going to be in this big steel jungle. And so do it before you leave home when you're on your blazing fast Wi-Fi at your house. Just tell everybody in your family to do it. A lot of times the cruise lines are also allowing, there used to be like a premium option to do like chat. And I know that some of the cruise lines are letting you chat within your family members, which is great with kids and family, because when you're out there in the middle of the ocean, you can't text each other. And of course, we're all used to that. So you can text your older kids, let's meet over for pizza. What time are you coming back to the room, or where are you at? All these wonderful things. And now it potentially could be free. And I think sometimes it's like $5 for a cruise or something like that. It's very affordable.
Right. So download the app. So not only that when you're on the ship, but before you get on the ship, you can use the app to usually purchase some items. You can do it on a desktop version, but let's be honest, like everyone does almost everything on their phone. So don't forget having the cruise line app before you board the ship, or as soon as you book it. You might even book you might even book your cruise on your phone.
Yeah, all of the apps, if you haven't cruised in the last couple of years, the apps they just get better and better and better and better, and everything they wish they could do, they have it there now. So don't waste. It used to be kind of optional to do it in the past. Download it and use it, and you're probably gonna really, really love it. I know Carnival's is really amazing. That's just one.
Well, all the folks doing Princess Ocean Medallion class, all their ships now use the wearable technology, right? So the app is integral to that for things like you can order food, get delivered to you, food and drinks right there within the app. You can see what else is happening, and it ties to that wearable device. So getting to your room or doing other things throughout the ship, you don't have the key card. So definitely, we had a few folks here going on Princess. You definitely need the app on Princess, but to John's point, you need it on every cruise line now, really. Royal, Carnival, Norwegian, they leverage the app or assume you have the app to do a number of things.
And so do it, because this is my problem. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir here. Do it before you leave the house, because when you get in, you can't do it from a cab, and you can't do it from the cruise terminal, and you can't do it easily on the ship, and then that's when you need it. So
awesome. Don't forget that. So second thing. Don't forget to do your check-in as soon as it becomes available, because this is super important nowadays, because it used to be the old days, like you just check in whenever, and then you just show up at the terminal, and you're just like, oh, I'm here, and they process you. But now, basically since the restart, they assign you a boarding time, and they're pretty strict. Most cruise lines, if you show up too early, Disney's notorious, but all the other cruise lines like this too. Like you have a certain assigned arrival time, and you're there early, they're just making you wait outside. And if you're in Florida or wherever you are, you don't want to be standing outside waiting hours. So you can check in.
You just tell them, listen, I'm Don, okay? And I'm a Pinnacle gold member, diamond. Let me in right now, buddy. That's what
All those? Is that what I said?
yeah, I'm just like,
You just roll like every cruise line's like higher status into one because
yes,
they're all very
I'm a
similar.
pinnacle diamond gold. Okay, my name is Don B. Let me in right now. Okay, I don't have little times. That you're on your time, but I'm on my time. Let me in.
We don't do that. I play by the rules because my wife makes me play by the rules, and I don't. Folks at the terminal, let's be honest.
You know Heidi's things.
Embarkation day is crazy, right? It's disembarkation day for the other crews and embarkation day for us. So it's just a sea of people. People are aggravated, luggage is everywhere, chaos, dogs and puppies raining from the sky. Like it's crazy. So make it less crazy by if you do your check-in early, you get a better arrival time, right?
Are you trying to say that Heidi follows all the rules?
She's a very rule-abiding citizen. Yes.
Okay.
She plays by the book.
I saw her on the MSC trip. As soon as she saw the porters, she got gangster. It's like cruise ship. Heidi goes into flip mode, and it's like, just get out of her way.
There's a virtual shoe coming across your screen soon at you. She's very determined, but yeah, with the porters, like I'm not lugging those bags. I just told you that 48
Heidi, I'm only joking. I'm sorry.
No, I'm kidding.
Sorry.
But this is in all seriousness though. Do the check-in as soon as possible. In that check-in too, you can now with the apps, like you can take a selfie to load for your security photo. You can put your credit card there. You can do a bunch of other information. Day of, you do the health questionnaire.
Yeah.
Once you do all that, you can go just bypass everyone. Like we did a trip. I actually out of Boston with hallmark line. We did everything in the app, and it was just like expressway right to getting on the ship. Whereas they had the whole other section of other folks who were like, I don't have the app. What? And it's like every cruise line, even Hal, like every cruise line, the app, online check-in, essential. Do it as soon as you can. Don't forget.
Yeah, that's funny because when we did our Symphony of the Seas cruise, you have all these different things with Royal Caribbean, and it's like step A, step B, step C, and it's going on to the next thing. And they just literally walk up. It was like different steps, but it was all fast. It was the fastest check-in I ever had. And the final step was, oh, you have everything? Get on board. Like, otherwise, if you missed a step, then you're gonna literally they push you aside a little bit, and you're kind of like, okay, and you're kind of like a holding area to finish the step you did. But if you did everything you were supposed to do, like Don's saying, you're on in record time. It blows my mind because we've all sat in those holding pens areas, on some of the cruise lines where you're just waiting to get on board. But it was so fast and so nice. And Don's cruising a lot more lately, so he's saying they're all kind of doing that now.
I actually haven't been. Well, they all have last year. We haven't technically been on a cruise yet in this year, so you're going to beat us. Well, we're going to be on the ship together, Mervilia, which will be. It won't be a cruise, but it'll be a tour, a full day on board. But you're going in. We leave with my brother on Harmony May 7th, so like we're leaving roughly the same time as you.
Can we pretend it's a cruise, Don?
We can.
We're just
we can make it our day, whatever you want to spend it. Is it just you? Are you flying solo? I haven't even asked you this.
Yes, I'm just flying solo.
Oh.
I'm trying to get my wife to participate more. I've had a kind of discussion. I'm like, there's Don.
You're putting in work?
Yeah, I want to start writing some articles, start doing some videos here. We could get,
Listen, Heidi does it now full time.
I know.
So maybe we'll get your wife doing it full time.
I'm trying to. We need to have a group session and convert her.
Like a mastermind. We do before like a mastermind session.
Yes.
Before.
You need to write articles. You need to make a video. She's actually a really good photographer, so I'm trying to get her to do more.
Yeah, you always need good photography. So what's next? Pre-book stuff, right? You don't forget that.
That's exactly what I was thinking when I saw that in the list. It's the app and everything when you're doing it before you're going to cruise. Like you said, all those little things. It used to be that it didn't really matter if you booked ahead of time or on the ship. A lot of times they didn't really penalize you. Well, now some cruise lines, and really most of them, everything is cheaper. Shore excursions, specialty dining. They have internet packages, drink packages. Everything's much, much cheaper if you book it ahead of time. And then there's usually a cutoff date. Like
you said, it doesn't sell out either. Like you said, some of these things sell out, especially tours.
Oh, yeah.
If you book through the cruise line.
Yeah, like the cabanas, the cabanas and private islands. There's only so many, and everybody likes them. And sometimes they're really, really good deals, and there's only 10 of them on the whole island. So if you don't recognize they're a good deal, or because some sailings might be different price than other sailings. And so, boom, you can actually register it or book it, because if you wait too long, it'll be gone. And that's pretty much, unfortunately, these ships are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. That's a bad thing, but some of these same things are still limited. So you need to book whatever your favorite thing is ahead of time as early as possible. And like we were just saying, people are booking a year or two in advance sometimes. So
we always say to book at least 6 to 8 months in advance, but I mean, we've definitely booked cruises a year plus in advance, and we don't usually reserve crazy stuff like that too far in advance. But you're right, and the best part is if you book something and it gets cheaper, you could just cancel and rebook. We've definitely done that where we book like a drink package or the internet, and then there's a flash sale or something else happens pre-cruise, and I'm like, oh, it's just $5 cheaper per person per day.
Yeah.
Go cancel the other one and rebook it. So and then other things too. Certain cruise lines, actually, their larger ships require reservations for shows or other things, and you can make those pre-cruise as well too, along with specialty dining and the typical add-ons and upcharges. But with the newer ships, John mentioned thousands of people, and there's only so many seats at this brand new restaurant. Right? There's only so many show times of the signature production show, so you want to make sure you're ahead of the game, book those things, and not run around the promenade or the atrium the first day of your cruise, getting in line, or sometimes the app. You can sometimes do it right on the app. So
yeah, and I think
don't forget to do that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of old school cruisers are kind of like, oh, they still book later or closer because they still think there might be a deals, or that just might be their habits. They might book within 6 months of sailing. Well, we just talked about the demand's really, really high, and people are very savvy that chores and different options that you used to have available and you could just walk on board because you couldn't pre-book them, they're already gone. And I see a lot of people frustrated at in our different groups, Facebook groups and whatnot. They're frustrated, like old school cruisers are frustrated because they get on board and there's options that used to always be available because you kind of had a fighting chance to get on board, have been sold out for the last 3 months, before sailing. So just our warning, just to be prepared. It is a new day. Everything's changed in 2023. Options that you could only do on board the ship are now in the app or they're online, and they're literally available sometimes up to the first people that book. So they've got first dibs at things that you might not because you book later or you just don't log in and do it. So I know
it's all about timing. So the earlier the better. If you have the app, we did our check-in. We did our check-in the morning it became available. Got the email that it became available, and we still got like the third or fourth arrival slot.
Yeah, even Viking cruises are doing this sometimes. So even luxury cruise lines they're having. It's just how things are nowadays. So you just be aware. Don't just be hoping. Just need to, and hopefully we're helping with that. Just be aware of how things work for your particular cruise line.
Yep. So definitely, like I said, check those check-in times, 30 to 45 days. Reservations sometimes are starting at 90 days or 120 days. It does vary for each cruise line. So you do want to read that fine print or go to great sites like Cruise Addicts or Eat Sleep Cruise or all the other websites out there that have that kind of information. So don't forget doing that. Let's see, what else do we want to forget here, John? I don't want to. Oh, talking about you going to Alaska. We might be going to Alaska. Yeah. It's really risky, especially lately with flights, to try to risk flying in day of. I would not attempt it right now. We've had flight delays. We've been sitting on runways for an hour plus. We've had family who's been traveling, multiple hour delays. That's the last thing you need the day of your cruise, right?
Right. Yeah. We've it's a luxury for some people. Some people have really tight schedules as far as their time off and stuff like that. So I think just to be strategic about it, when you and your family are taking a vacation, start adding those extra days for flying in and flying out the day before you're sailing, because it's going to make you much, much more relaxed. Because if you don't need to be stressed out showing up at the airport in the morning of your cruise and you have to fly across the country or from New York to Florida or New York to Galveston or wherever you might be going, and all of a sudden there's a thunderstorm that you didn't know was going to happen and everything gets pushed back 3 hours. And there's just so many problems that, it's, why go through all that?
Right. Or even if you're driving, right? Drive the night before, get a hotel room. You can find something that's reasonably priced.
I lived in Florida. I drive across the state 2 to 3 hours, almost 4 hours to Miami, and stay at a hotel, park the car. It lets you what I told people is it lets you have your vacation start a day sooner. You know, we all work really, really hard. Why don't you have your family vacation start a day before, your romantic vacation, your honeymoon, whatever it is, start an extra night before in a great city like Miami or Fort Lauderdale or what have you, even Tampa. And
I
just
love it. I dig to Tampa.
Tampa rocks.
Well, you said the way you said even Tampa. That was like a
Yeah,
dig.
even
That's
Tampa.
right.
Yeah, Tampa's awesome. So yeah, so that's why I look at it. Is you're there. You don't have to, now. You don't have to worry about getting there. You're there because even driving, a million things go wrong, right? So just get there, start your vacation. A lot of times they have, even if you're driving, they have a park and fly package or park and stay package where you can actually get reduced parking there. And then you can either take the hotel shuttle, and a lot of times we didn't want to wait for that because we're impatient. So we take Uber or something and just get right to the pier like at our chosen time, and we don't have to worry about waiting in line or anything like that.
Yeah, and like you said, especially if you're driving, if you find the right package, it probably isn't. It costs a little bit more because you get that package that includes parking at the facility and round trip
And sometimes,
transportation to the port. So I mean, you can get good deals, especially in Fort Lauderdale, Port Canaveral. There's good deals. Miami. I'm sure there are. We're not as familiar with them,
it
but
just
even Galveston must have the same setups in some of
yeah.
those hotels.
And it just made me think of something else too. Let's think about this. Here's like, well, I can't afford that, or I don't want to, you know, that's a lot of extra because now you have to pay for a hotel room and I don't budget that in before or after or what have you. I think flying out the day that you get off the cruise is okay. But could it be a challenge? Yeah, but you're not going to miss your cruise. The worst thing is you may have to stay an extra night there if you have flight problems. So that's okay. But do this though. Make sure it's like your flight is maybe after noon, because you don't want to be like stressing out like I've done, where you get a flight that's in the morning and you have to now get off a ship. Sometimes the ship might get delayed coming in, and now you still got to go through TSA. You have to go through problem. So I would make it at least afternoon, and you still have to get to the airport and worry about all those things, TSA, and you just never know what you're going to find at the airport. So always give yourself time, no matter what you're doing. But what I want to say about flying in is, if you go in the day before, let's say it's a Thursday or Friday instead of Saturday, what have you. Now the flight might be cheaper because it's not on a weekend like a Saturday morning or Saturday midday or whatever. And so you can actually sometimes can save money and put that towards the hotel and parking, or hotel. I mean, not parking, but hotel, and you kind of get a twofer, you know, because
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely we never really saved money doing that, but it definitely has maybe been negligibly more money to come in, like you said, because you save money on the flights or whatever other deals you might be able to get, getting the hotel room, or if you find a good deal that includes the parking or whatever. It's more a piece. I'd rather pay for the peace of mind. It's like we have travel insurance, but it's like almost a little bit of travel insurance too, because unless you book your flights directly through the cruise line, which we have done in the past, but we don't typically do, then they're not waiting for you.
Yeah, let's be honest with each other here. We're all here together. Okay. Let's all really be honest with each other. Travel day can be super, 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 super stressful. Okay. And when you're trying to do everything the same day, you're trying to fly, you're trying to get from your house, get to the airport, get through TSA, get on the plane. We talked about carry-ons and all that other stuff. Then you're going to get there. You're going to have to find an Uber. You're going to get to the pier, the port from the airport. And now everybody's doing the same thing on that busy day because it's a Saturday, and right now that's a challenge in itself. Then you're going to get there and it's pandemonium, right? Because people are trying to get off, you're trying to get on. Well, think about how nice it would be if you went the day before and you're literally around the corner from the port. Changes everything. The whole scenario is completely different. So give yourself that benefit, hopefully on both sides of the equation, and really enjoy yourself, because that's what it's all about.
Agreed. We don't. You don't have to be dead horse. We actually talked about the next one, but this is one. It was a packing day. A lot of good packing questions. So we always recommend. So we don't bring just a carry-on, but even if we brought just a carry-on, I think I would still check that with the porter, because I have my giant backpack that has my computer, action camera, microphones, all our gear in it, and that thing alone is probably like 25, 30 pounds. And odds are your room's not going to be ready when you board the ship unless you're boarding later in the day. And if you want to walk around the ship, go get something to eat, do things for a few hours, the last thing you want to do is be lugging 40 pounds worth of luggage, right? So recommend checking definitely those larger bags, but still making sure you do have a carry-on, because there are essential things you're going to need once you board the ship.
Right. Yeah, we talked about those bathing suits. You know, it's a personal decision, but I just, like going back to earlier, I try to check everything as I can, because to me, I enjoy being not being bogged down carrying a bag around or having to lug it around, especially on a really busy day where you're getting on board a ship. You might want to go. It's hard to be nimble and walk upstairs and find an eatery where other people might not be because the elevators are jammed on that wherever he's trying to get on the ship. It's hard to do that when everybody in the family has a big carry-on or a big heavy bag or something like that.
There's nothing worse than trying to navigate a casual restaurant. We don't like to do the buffet and embarkation day, but going through the hallways or getting in there where people have these giant bags, and then they look at you like, oh, well, you know, your room's not going to be ready for 2 to 3 hours, depending when you get on 2-3 hours. And then you're lugging around, or people like knocking into others because everyone has their bags. The porters are there for a reason, just to get those larger bags checked and on the ship quicker. It makes things easier.
Yeah.
So again, just kind of like that. If you can't pick up that carry-on and put it in the overhead bin on a plane, you probably shouldn't be lugging that bag on the ship either.
So I'm going to ask you a personal question, sir. Do you go to your room and drop your carry-ons when the doors are shut before 1:30, or do you wait till after?
Have I inappropriately opened the door and walked down the hallway I shouldn't have been? I have. That's bad on me. But it does depend on the cruise line. Like Celebrity allows guests to kind of drop stuff off. Their rooms aren't ready yet. But honestly, anytime we've got on, they seem pretty ready to us. But I try not. Again, especially since the cruise restart, we know how much stress the staff's under those days, right? They're turning the ship around. We also know cruise lines seem to be cutting back on staff. So they're asking the crew to do more than they typically do. Maybe they service more rooms, or they're working longer hours. So I try not to be that guy and be a pain. Yeah, but I have done it. I have to admit, I'm not a liar either. So say I've never done that would not be true. But to say that we haven't done that in a while, and I try to avoid that at all costs by checking bags, I would say that. Why have you you've snuck kind of around the?
So I always felt that you could. Like
the doors are clearly closed.
I could open them.
They're clearly closed for a reason. Why did you think you?
When I pushed it, it opened.
It pushed when it opened. That I guess that's true.
I'm like, honey, my room's right there. Okay, I just want to bring my bag and drop it off. But now I'm all joking aside. They got stricter in the last 5 years or so, where they're like, do not go. Like they didn't really stress me before. It was like, hey, yeah, drop your bag off. Like almost like what you said. It was like, yeah, not a big thing. If you drop your bag, just don't move in. And yeah, it's not going to be ready per se. And maybe it is. I don't know. You don't know what you're going to find. But you can just drop your bag and now your hands free. You know what I mean? You go about your business, and you're not bogged down with this bag. But my wife, kind of like someone else we know, is very strict about this particular thing, and she will absolutely, positively not let me go in there. You'll hear John across the whole ship where I'm like getting called out, and she doesn't let me do that.
Well, at least someone there plays by rules. So listen, we never suggest blatantly breaking rules. Like people ask all the time, like, can I sneak alcohol in the ship? And we're always like, no, you can't. Most cruise lines let you bring the 2 bottles of wine. Disney also lets you either bring a big 6-pack of beer. Carnival lets you bring a 6-pack or 12-pack of cans of non-alcoholic beverages. Like those are regulations. Follow them. Don't ask me like how can I blatantly get around the restrictions the cruise lines have? And that's just not the way we travel. Buy the drink package, or just you can pre-buy bottles of water the cruise line sends to your room, wherever the case may be, right? So the same thing with those doors. Like, have I done it? I'm not proud of myself, but never again, John. Never again.
Glad we cleared. I really feel that we really had a good discussion here, and now we're on the same page with that. But I think with the carry-on stuff, it's the drink, the water, and the soda, and the beer and wine, or whatever it is, or wine, I guess, that's like per person too. So if you have a lot of people go in your group, everybody can bring like 2 bottles of wine or whatever. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. But then you got to lug all this stuff in that carry-on we were talking about earlier. Soda and stuff like that. But now the cool thing, like Camellia, is what's neat is like this. When you look at the Carnival thing, it's actually they know that cruisers will want to do that. They know that you want maybe extra water, and you have it right there in that refrigerator, or soda, and you don't need a lot because you're not going to be in the cabin that much a lot of times. But you want enough. And it is heavy, and a lot of times you have to take those things or check that luggage or whatever it is, or even if you're carrying it on. And so it's a pain in the neck. So Carnival in particular has made water very, very affordable in a 12 pack, in a soda, like a 6 pack or 12 pack of soda, whatever. It's actually pretty affordable when you go to that particular spot on the Carnival website. So you don't have to be bogged down by those things. You can actually order it and just waiting for you in your room, which is really, really nice, because I think there's a lot of things that are very expensive in cruising, and like that cruise line in particular with the water and stuff, it made it quite affordable where you didn't have to bother with that, because they saw that the passengers wanted to do that, and it's not booze or anything crazy. It just, I mean, what happens if that thing gets banged down? I mean, they don't make sodas like they did back in the day, so all of a sudden the water starts leaking and it's in your carry-on, and you have your camera and your baby, it's just a mess. So it just isn't, they made it where you didn't have to do that.
Yeah, again, Camille on Facebook. Thanks again for
Yeah,
joining us tonight.
yeah, thank you, Camille.
Just mention what you said, and honestly, the couple Carnival cruises we've done, we've just bought the drink package, which includes bottled water and soda. But I do agree with you. There's other cruise lines, I won't mention them, that charge ridiculous amounts of money for bottles of water, and their drink packages don't even include. Some don't even include bottles of water. They're purely just, again, kind of crazy. So Carnival is that family brand, right? So they do want to appeal to families, and if it's just water or soda, or you have a particular type. But we were kind of surprised. So they're very strict with the cans, right? Because when we were on Celebration, folks were trying to bring like Gatorade or sports drinks or other bottles, and there was just a whole table. They're just confiscating them left and right because it has to be a certain number and it has to be cans. Which we had a drink package, so that was one time where we didn't try to lug anything on board, because I'm just like, we had our refillable water bottle, which I could fill up. But that was it. So it is true too, just knowing what your cruise line has. Like Virgin doesn't have any bottles of water. Virgin Voyages, just refillable water stations. So you need to make sure you have, like, that's one of the things we always recommend people pack in your carry-on anyway, is a refillable water bottle. But there are some cruise lines now that are trying to do away with single-use plastics too.
Yeah, and all the cruise lines are very, very strict. And if you've never seen the area, like at the end of the cruise, all the stuff they confiscate between the booze and they're bringing back, and everybody's steamers and irons and toaster ovens and everything, coffee makers. I mean, if you can think about it, like the big thing now in groups is people want personal fans, which I didn't know.
That's become yes, because yes, fans, yes.
Like I thought that I'm still stuck back in like the ducks, and all that stuff. But like I said, I'm kind of minimalistic. I don't want to bring a lot of stuff because between the luggage fees and everything else, like less is more to me. I have a hard enough time trying to bring my phone and cameras and and everything else. But yeah, the people want to bring a lot of stuff, and they're going to confiscate it. They're very strict on a lot of things.
Right. Well, a lot of people ask that question. I guess if you like tea, some people will bring hot plates or tea kettles. I don't think I've seen a toaster. Have you legit seen a toaster oven?
I might have.
I think John's a little exaggerated.
I might have been in lab, little embellishment there.
But you are right. So other things that we have seen people bring too are the power strips, right? They just grab a power strip from their house. So go on Amazon. We have them on our website. We recommend them. There's now cruise line approved portable kind of multi outlets with USB-Cs, and they're non-surge, and they're approved, and you can bring them on. But there's always that, as you mentioned, that table, steamers, and other things that are not allowed. Check your cruise line's website. Yeah. Don't bring those.
A day doesn't go by that someone doesn't ask about iron. My husband wants to bring an iron, and no, you can't do that.
So what do you bring? So we mentioned what you shouldn't bring. So don't forget to leave that stuff at home. But mention a couple of things like bathing suits. People, packing tips from earlier. Obviously, cell phone with the app already installed. If you're like us, you're gonna need other digital devices, maybe at your tablet or a laptop. Cameras, action cameras, various things like that. Those are some of the essential things. What else, John? What are we putting in that carry-on?
My two essential things are obviously a good bathing suit we talked about earlier, bathing suits, because if you're on a Caribbean cruise, for example, you want to use the pool, you're going to have multiple stops, they're going to need to be clean.
It's to that point too. Like if you're only going to bring one bathing suit, don't make it be an obnoxious bathing suit. We were on one cruise and this dude had like an American flag bathing suit, and he wore it like every day. Anytime I saw him on the pool deck, it was very clear. So maybe he forgot the second one, but if you're going to have like the same bathing suit, I'm sure he could have washed it. I don't know what he was doing, but it was this very loud, blatant American flag bathing suit, and then just every day I saw him like wearing it. Just like buy a plain blue one.
But we're all adults here. We know that thing's not dry. So
Oh
Just,
God.
at least have two, so you can hang them up in the shower, but it's going to take some time to let that dry out, and we don't want to turn the balcony into a shanty town, but so, but yeah, have a couple bathing suits. And then here's my big thing. Okay, if you've ever been on a cruise and you try to walk on the cruise deck or the decking around the pool or anywhere, you need to have proper shoes. And so how do you get from the pool to the hot tub? You need to have some type of slip-on shoe. My favorite is Crocs. They're really nice. They're waterproof. They're comfortable. Whatever your favorite thing is, it's I mean,
Or cheap flip flops. You can go buy $2, $4 oldie. I have like a bunch of old flip flops. You're right, because you're gonna slip and fall, or it's hot. You're gonna burn your feet.
right. And then the next thing comes. So that's like a must. Okay, a must. Make sure you, of course, it starts with a bathing suit because that's what it's all about. Bathing suit, and you have to have some type of deck shoe or slide or whatever, flip flop. Very, very important. Something sturdy though, because you don't want your flip flop pop breaking. So because something's gonna, if you've been on a 7-night cruise and it breaks on the 4th day, that's you're gonna be crying. So the next thing is when you get to the beach, people don't think about this. A lot of the beaches in the Caribbean have a lot of rocks. So you're walking through this beautiful beach, picturesque. And you've got several beach stops, and you take a couple steps and you realize that, wow, my feet are on this really gnarly rock. So there's aqua shoes that have some type of grip on the bottom. There's all different types of water shoes, I guess is what they call them. And so you need to get that well before you leave the house. You don't want to buy those on port. They're not going to, a lot of times they're not going to be available anyway. So that's something you need to shop maybe at Walmart. Maybe you have to buy them online because maybe you're not, like I was in Florida, so I could buy a lot of these things. But if you're a certain part of the country, it's not going to be in your local store. So
I mean, the only good thing is, to be honest, though, Amazon, right? You can order stuff through Amazon too, but definitely you don't want to pay the added 15-20% surcharge if you go to buy that at the store on the corner before the port or something.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of times they don't have it. That's the thing is they don't. It's such a unique type of thing, and it's a high quality thing. They want to sell cheap little things, that cost too much. But if you actually want the good stuff, that's where Amazon or a good store and those types of things, you want to try them on. You want to make sure it fits properly, it's comfortable, because you don't want to be, you're putting it to protect your feet and be comfortable. And the last thing you want to do is have something that's totally wrong in every way, and it doesn't fit, doesn't work right, isn't protecting you right. Because a good water shoe is everything. Then you can go, now all of a sudden you can see those beautiful turquoise waters, on all these multiple beaches on a really beach type of cruise, and you're protected because you could step on glass, you could step on a sharp rock or anything like that. And so that completely is taken care of with that proper water shoe. So
just also, but just so folks know, we don't advise actually stepping on glass, but he is correct that that's an extra layer of protection in case the beach isn't as clean. We don't.
Correct. You never know what's in there. So yeah, it's great.
You don't.
Great protection. And I know a lot of people don't have those things. So that's just a kind of like a pro tip,
What we tend to do now, and what we recommend to some folks, if you're going to go on a few cruises a year, we just have a small, it's not a carry-on, but we have just our cruise suitcase kind of already pre-packed with some of that stuff, right? So the water shoes and some of the other essentials like towel clips that we always bring with us. We always have magnets. The walls are magnetic, and you can hang stuff like hats and bags or wet bathing suits.
Everybody's talking about the magnets. I've not ever used the magnets, but it's all I hear about now. I mean, there's like
you've never used magnetic hooks?
Zero.
This is like a breaking news story because I don't know how we cruise without them.
Yeah, I've never done it. Zero. Everybody's talking about it. It was like, I mean, I've never had a fan. I've never had metal hooks. But one thing on a completely different note is it made me think of like what I really try to bring is on a medication, over-the-counter medication. Because if you're in Europe or you're in the Caribbean or wherever have you, sometimes that you get a cold, you can't find those things. Like I got really sick one time on a river cruise. And I'm literally being translated in French trying to get some medication. And it just seemed like just a really bad cold. And it was one of those things that came up overnight. And I didn't have what I needed. Because normally, like you get a really bad sinus infection or something like that, Dayquil, NyQuil kind of keeps everything in check, and you can kind of power through most things, right? So You couldn't find that anywhere. We went everywhere. We went to grocery stores. We went to a pharmacy, and they wrote me a script right there, but we had to translate it in French it was crazy. But so never again. So before I go on any trip, I don't care if it's a weekend trip or a river cruise in Europe, I bring a pack of Dayquil, NyQuil combination stuff. I have that. That's in my cruise go bag, like you have, and also ibuprofen or Tylenol, whatever you prefer. Maybe both, because if you get a fever, you might need both, like on and off, to keep your fever down. You don't know what's going on. I know some people recommend maybe something for your Pepto-Bismol or some tablets or what have you to keep that. If your stomach's bothering you. I mean, a lot of people might drink a little bit too much. They might eat some really, really rich foods. And if you have stomach issues, you might want to think about that too. So, but the big thing is those Dayquil, NyQuil. I really think when I went on a river cruise a year later, there was actually a doctor on board that got sick and got a cold. And I actually shared that with him, and that got him through those days. And he was actually a surgeon. But because you literally can't find, in some places, you can't find these things. They don't have, like you would assume, oh, those brands are gonna be there, and you couldn't find any of it. And it wasn't for the lack of trying. So yeah, really good. Just be prepared. There's nothing worse. I mean, a bad headache or a cold without the proper medication that we take for granted, where you can just run to the corner and get it. When you're in the middle of nowhere in a place that doesn't have what you need, it makes a really bad day. And there's nothing worse than that. It ruins the whole vacation for you and everyone else.
Right. Well, some friends on Facebook, Nick, good friend, World Caribbean Cruiser, he mentioned kind of same things you're mentioning, some ibuprofen and other things. We always have a little, I call it little, but thing probably weighs like 10 pounds. And Heidi has every kind of over-the-counter medication you can think of: antacids, ibuprofen, Band-Aids. Camila also on Facebook kind of mentioning a bunch of the same things: Dayquil, NyQuil.
Camila, Nick.
Yeah, they do have it on the ship, but there might be certain brands you prefer, or if the seas are up or something, they'll sell out of some of that stuff too. If you have motion sickness really easily, you don't have the bands or some of those things, then forget it, because there'll be a run on the
another thing is an eyeglass repair kit. That is very difficult to find. Sewing kit, definitely eyeglass repair kit, because if this little screw comes out here and all of a sudden you have a lens pop out of your sunglasses or your main glasses, that's a major problem when you're in the middle of nowhere. And what I was going to say was, I don't know if you can hear me, is like Nick and Camellia, I hope I'm saying her name right, is, when they wrote that, you can tell they learned that from their experiences. Everybody has their unique situations, and something comes up and you will never forget it, like I said. And so you take those precautions for yourself, but then, you're helping your family as well, because it's all fun and games, because it's like I said, people just assume that, they'll have that at the little store on the ship. Or I know some of the cruise lines have these big vending machines, like on Symphony of the Seas. There's a lot of stuff that used to not be on ships, but surprisingly, there's still a lot of stuff that isn't. And it's not. I don't expect it, because they have what they have, but they don't have everything. So
right. So you definitely but you right. So we always have indigestion stuff, or we have Klutz. So you have Band-Aids or some of those other items, and Dayquil, cough drops, all those other folks are mentioning. We always have some too. And it's good if we don't use them, that's fine. They don't really go bad. They don't expire. So you have them, and hopefully you don't have to use them, but it's like a little bit of insurance, right? So pack those, bring those, depending how much you want to bring, like prescription medication for sure, bring in your carry-on. But some of those other items we tend to have in our check bags. But anything like John mentioned, because you don't want them, if your bag gets lost, which 99% of the time it won't, but on that rare time it does, if you don't have your medications, prescription medications, much more difficult to get, like you mentioned.
Yeah, you can have your little travel toiletry and medicine thing. You don't need a lot, just enough for that.
Right.
And it's good to go. It's not going to go bad per se, or and then you change it out as you travel over the year or two, whatever.
Put in the 1 quart, those nice zipper 1 quart ones, not the actual Ziploc bags. You can go to Target or Walmart, and they have I should have one. I have tons in there, but you get with the zipper that comes over it. That way, if you want to fly with it, you can bring with you, and you can use that when you're going through security, or you just put it in your carry-on for those really essential items, especially prescription medications and other items too. So don't want to forget those, right? I know, John, we're coming at a little over an hour. We got a few other things here. We can either go rapid fire, just hit a couple. One big thing. I'm going to hit this one. I'm going to pick one I think is actually super important that some people we see forget a lot, cash. We
That's
were on a cruise with our family. They didn't have any. They had like very little. I shouldn't say any, but they didn't have cash. And I get it. Listen, credit cards, digital payments, even some of these ports you wouldn't expect it. You can maybe use like Apple Pay or they have Square or something like that. But still nice to have, especially small denominations cash. If you quickly want to get something done, you're like, I need a taxi to get there. Like I got $15 to take the three of us or whatever. Much easier than playing with credit cards. You don't want, heaven forbid, someone could steal your credit card information or even with digital payments. So we always have a couple $100s of small bills just for tips, having a shore to get things done quickly, buy small items, or more importantly, tip tour guides or get cabs or things like that. I think just because fewer and fewer places on land require cash. I remember during just a couple years ago, a lot of places didn't even want to accept cash. Everything was credit card or digital. But I think if you bring cash with you, you definitely can get things done quicker and easier.
Yeah, and I mean, it's great. And on another note, you made me think of another tip that we didn't have necessarily here, but have cash and local currency. And a lot of times you don't have to necessarily wait until you get like, I think it's great to go to the bank, like what you said, a couple $100s. I think small bills are king. You know, you don't want to necessarily have a bunch of 20s that you can't break, because we all know that works out when you're traveling. Like,
Oh, you just left a bigger tip than you expected.
Yeah, you got a really good tip, right? So yeah, you want a lot of ones, because everything from and have it before you get there, because I feel really bad. I mean, people work really, really hard. If you forget and you want to do the curbside check-in at the airport, which I absolutely love that, by the way, and some airlines have it, some don't, but like Delta does, for example, and you curbside check-in of your bag, boom, right? I don't have to deal with my bag. Remember I talked about earlier, but they expect a tip. Everybody knows that. They politely say it. I don't know if they're going to give you a hard time if you don't, but I'm sure you're not going to get the best look compared to the person, because it is expected.
Right.
And so there's a couple dollars, whatever you choose to do there, right, per bag, whatever. And then the same thing, we're on a cruise, the porters expect so much per bag. And that's a complete big debate as far as what people choose to tip, but they expect a tip. And on and on and on and on and on around hotels, there's doormen, there's all kinds of people are going to help you. Of course, the crew members, you're on vacation, and everybody in the service industry expects a tip at times, and they're there to help you. And if they do help you, they expect a little something. And so you can't be handing every $20 bills, I guess, unless you got it that way. But so you want those small bills, and you probably want to get it up front, maybe from your bank. Maybe you go to your bank or credit union before your trip, and then you can have it easily that way, because it's hard to get cash, like dollar bills and ones and fives, just from. You usually can't get those easily. So
yeah. Oh well, another tip though, depending on the cruise line you're on. So even if you run to the ATM the morning of or whatever, and you get a bunch of 20s or whatever, go to the casino. And most of the time, the casinos will break. They'll even have a machine that can break bills for you. So you put in 20, get 4 5s, or you can just go to a cage. And I've definitely done that on several trips, where I just go to the cage and I'm like, can I get 10 5 and 5 1s or whatever I need for change for tips. The stateroom attendant, for our dining room staff, or other bar servers or whoever on the ship, right? But you don't even have the 20, and you go to use the ATM in the casino, they're going to charge you whatever ridiculous fees. And I don't know, some banks are more like Bank of America. Anything I do overseas, if I don't warn them, it's like considered fraud. So
that's I was going to bring that up, because I got a total mess one time from like one credit union, like I had multiple cards, so one card would work, but another one wouldn't. And then you're just trying to buy tacos and a Mexican beach day, right, in Cozumel, and one, you feel really bad when they come back to you and say, Mr. Shala, doesn't work, and then you have to change cards. And so and a lot of people don't do it, but I even had a hard time one time. For example, it was my first MSC cruise. The MSC makes you do it on, like, in the what I'm talking about, right?
A machine. You have to go to a machine and swipe.
Yeah. Which was totally weird to me, because I think with all the other cruise lines that me and you have probably done, you usually do it before you get on board. You put it in the system like we talked about, online, or you do your check-in, take a picture sometimes nowadays, but it's all done before you get on board. For some reason, and I hope they change it, you go on board and MSC makes you do it at this kiosk. Like, it's meant, if you can walk around, but even if you're the drink package, you have to register a card. Well, guess where the terminal showed up, on your where the terminal was located as far as what your credit and your bank saw the transaction go from. It doesn't say MSC Cruises United States.
Genova, where they're based? I don't know.
No, France.
Oh, close. All right.
I don't know why. Well, it set up a flag. All of a sudden, John's in France, from some whatever, and so it didn't like it. So I couldn't register my card. And all of a sudden, then you see this huge line because everybody else in the ship had the same problems, and you haven't even started your cruise yet. So it's a big mess.
Well, we didn't know that until like halfway through the cruise because we went to use our card, and they said you can't use your card. So,
yeah,
a key room card. Because they'll give you I don't want to lie, maybe it's like $200. They give you a certain amount, and then once
you're right. I think the same thing happened to me.
Yeah. So then we go. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I registered a card. Like, no, you didn't. I just assumed we did because like every other cruise line, when you do the online check-in. But you're correct. They ushered me to the machine. I filled it, all set, and then I thought I had added Heidi. So we're going to literally check out the morning of our cruise. I scanned my card. I was able to walk out. Heidi went to scan her card. They wouldn't let her leave. I'm like, why? And they said, oh, she has a bill of, I don't want to lie, it was like 12 or 17, like a ridiculous amount. It was like a drink or something. I'm like, that makes no sense. She was under me. So I had to go back to the machine, swipe her key card, swipe my credit card again. I mean, it took an extra 5 minutes, but it was still like, just get with the times, MSC. Like, you have beautiful ships. This whole credit card thing, I don't know if it's an international thing, which I don't think it is, but just have everyone register your credit card ahead of time. Saves everyone headaches.
I don't know what it is, but it's a problem, and I'll never forget it. And that's kind of started me being aware that that's an issue. Is I think I had to call my credit union from a port and say, hey, this is going on, and then they let me run it on my main bank account, which was in Florida at the time. So not fun. So
what was that credit card number again, John?
8675309. So
that's a phone.
Yeah.
So cash, you wouldn't have any issues with that, right? You just be like, here's, and if you were in Europe, here's some euro. Go to your bank. That usually takes a couple weeks, or I mean, really just Europe or Asia. If you're in the Caribbean, most take American. Mexico, they'll be, here's how much it is U.S. versus peso. But if you don't have the cash, and you're out of luck either way.
Yeah, I hate the heart, but one I let you know is like if you go to Amber Cove, Dominican Republic. Amber Cove, if it's in Dominican Republic, most banks do not allow you to actually run anything there, which kind of shocked me. So if you're visiting Amber Cove, you assume that Amber Cove right at the port there is operated by Carnival Cruise Line. It's not. You can't use your drink package there. It's all independent, so it's going to be ran through, your credit card is going to show in the Dominican Republic. So in that particular port, we didn't actually buy anything because we couldn't, because to do it it was a major problem because we had to talk to our security office at our credit union. So just check with your bank or security office, and they're going to ask you, it's just a phone call, what ports you're going to visit. You have to be specific, and they put them down in the computer. So when those scans come across, it doesn't send any flags off. And of course, you're going to have a hard time getting back to them. And like I said, they made me aware of these there's different parts of the world. Dominican Republic was one where a lot of people are going to, where they actually would not, it was like, do not go, because there's so much problems there as far as with credit and banking systems that it was just it wasn't even worth the risk to even do it, because I would have to, I almost have to tell them what I was going to be doing before I did it, which was impossible. And like you said about the cash, I'm going to get back to what you were originally saying, is people in the Viking group ask all the time, do I buy euros or money or wherever they're at? Do I do it in the airport? And we did that on our first cruise. We got some at the airport before we went, because you want to have some euros to give to drivers or tour guides or whatever. But a lot of times you can actually go to ATM machines from major banks in those places you go to and take out different denominations. Maybe if you're doing the Christmas market or something like that, and take a little bit as needed. It's always good to have a little bit of something, some coins, small coins to pass out to the drivers or tour guides. You should always have that. But usually later on, you can actually get a little bit more local currency. It's cheaper from a bank than some other places. So,
right, or AAA. We've gotten money from AAA before. I don't want to lie. I don't think there's a fee, or if it is, it's nominal. And then you can actually pick the denominations. You can't get coins ahead of time, but if you just go buy one thing in Europe, and you have a ton of coins left. because that's what they're going to give you change in for tips and things. So folks, and then friend Nick here asking, I'm pretty sure Amsterdam takes euros. We've been to Amsterdam a couple times. Honestly, I have given. Sometimes you just like run out, or you have U.S. cash, and you're like, I've been traveling crazy. I don't. I feel giving them something. I don't want them to work for it, right? Giving them something. U.S. dollar is still kind of recognized everywhere as currency, but I'm pretty sure Amsterdam, Netherlands. Heidi can check. Where is she? She's not doing her job. There's supposed to be all of these comments here. Yeah, but going to your bank ahead of time. But you're right. You can go to ATMs in those countries. Your bank may charge you a fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's better, paying an extra $10 fee, having local currency might be worth that extra charge. So cash, that's one. And I've seen plenty of people come to me like, do you have cash on you? I'm like, yeah, I have cash on me. I'm
like, we went to a Christmas market. It was our first port in Budapest on a Danube River cruise, but they accepted both currency. But the ATM you could pick up, you could actually select what currency you wanted. It was nice, that you could pull a load out. Sometimes you take some home for a souvenir or what have you. But yeah, I think euros are kind of king, in that part of the world where you can pretty much get away with passing a euro. But I don't think people are going to say no to a US dollar right now. So,
especially if it's a tour guide or someone who's doing your tour in English, and it's through a cruise line, so that's not the first time. Listen, I'd rather give someone $5 or $10 and feel weird that I didn't have that local currency versus just walking by them and not tipping. But plenty of people don't tip. But we can have a whole nother. Let's not go down rabbit holes.
Yeah, there's
on cruises. So that was the big one of the remaining ones. John, what is like the big thing you want to remind people not to forget to
do? Obviously, you got to attend muster.
Yes.
And that's been a big issue nowadays, where people really some cruise lines kind of took it away, where you could actually go to the muster station. Like, it used to be the whole ship would actually get together at one time, right? Well, now you have to check in to your kind of like virtual mustering, they call it, I guess, where you can go to a specific spot. So you have to kind of go, if you're E5, you have to go to E5 and you have to talk to a crew member. A lot of times you have to do things on your app, and then you're good to go. But you got to do that pretty early in the day, because you don't want to hold the whole ship up. And like I said, some cruise lines have problems with people complying with this. And then the captain gets on board, starts calling people out, saying, well, we got to get this done, but regulations, it's a big thing. But if people just do it in a timely manner, then it's all good and go, good to go. So
I would say, especially if it's an e-muster, there's no excuse for not doing it in the first hour and a half of your trip, because you can oftentimes you can watch the video when you got on the intranet on your phone, or if you have to watch it in your cabin, you got to wait till the cabin's open. But if you can watch on your phone, they're 5 minutes. You watch it. Some are slightly different than others. I think Royal Celebrities, it's like 3 steps. It's like watch the video, watch the horn thing, click that you've done it. You go to your muster, show them you've done it on your phone. They talk to you for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you're done, right?
That's it. Yeah. So like what you're saying is, we kind of started, because we cruised more, we kind of got into a routine a little bit, where we're like, while we're exploring the ship, we just make a point of finding where we need to go, like originally, initially, where our muster station is. And so as we walk by, we just have it present, in our minds that, let's stop in and do our muster. And if it's early enough, there's no one there really, because everybody else is kind of just catching up. So you kind of beat the rush and you get out of the way, and you feel so relieved, and then next thing you might go to specialty restaurants. Same thing with checking specialty restaurants. So it's all part of that initial day of get your e-muster done. Maybe if you want some specialty restaurant reservations that you need to go see someone about, then you do that as well. So it's all part of that first day exploration / it's one thing to walk around and explore, but if you need to get stuff done, try to make that part of that exploration, kind of think ahead of time. And that's just, you get that with experience.
Or I know some of the more luxury lines or premium lines, like Viking. I don't know if Viking still does, but I know, if I remember, some of them just make you do it right away when you walk on, right? They're just like, hey, welcome aboard. Muster's in the theater, so please go walk there. And you walk in, because those ships are smaller, so there's only a handful of muster stations. If you're on Wonder of the Seas or a mega ship from Norwegian or Carnival, muster's on all different decks. But on the smaller luxury ships, even the river cruises, right? Usually you walk on, they're like, please go to the main area here for a 5-minute demonstration. There you can't really avoid it. On the other ships, you can walk on and wait to the very last minute. But we were on actually an MSC, and the cruise director got on and did the typical, like, we still have 90% of people have done the muster. Just remember, 10% or whatever to do it. And he kept coming on with the weirdest things. He's like, we still don't have everyone. And then it's like, this is another friendly room. Like, it was almost, I almost wanted to be like, who hasn't done it? Like, can we just do it already? Like, he came on for like a full hour. And then we won't set sail. I just like, it was, don't be that person, I guess. I think even more, I think people like came and had to do it the next day. I don't know if it was a language barrier or
we always
thought, I don't know what.
It hasn't happened as much in the past in recent memory. But you're sitting there, it's the day you get off the ship, right? You're sitting there, and the same thing happens. Like there's someone that's got a really big bill, and they have to check in, with the purser, and of course, a lot of times there's an accent there, so I don't want to offend anybody, as far as my poor embellishment. But they're like, so and so, Mr. and Mrs. So and so, you need to come to the purser's desk. Thank you, and then it gets louder and rougher, and all of a sudden it's like. It kind of got closer. Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, you need to come to the person's desk right now, or else no one is going to be able to get off the ship. Like they would actually hold the ship up, they were saying. Like, so everyone's looking around like, who is that? Who's, like it was intense. We're like, dang, we better pay your, you don't want to like have a bank problem, So yeah, it's crazy. But we joke about that.
We do. So I know we're coming up to, we've been on almost an hour and a half. We got a few questions from our friends join us on YouTube. Myself asked a question here. This might be a good way to end it. I know we have some other tips. John and I will come back and finish up some other things you can't forget to do on a cruise, because God knows there's a laundry list of them. I would love to hear your opinion on this. What's a good cruise length and ship for a single mom and a 4-year-old?
Wow, some really good questions.
We had some great questions tonight. I'll go a quick one and see. I always recommend for folks maybe a cruise on the shorter side, like a 3-dayer, one of the weekend cruises, because you really don't have any sea days. If you hate it, which I don't think you will, I love cruising, of course. But even if you don't like it, it's really 2.5 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're back home Monday. It really depends, I guess, what you like to do. You can't go on Carnival or Royal for shorter cruises. I would stay away from Norwegian. Some of their shorter cruises tend to be older ships, but especially the 4-year-old child with the kids programming, all those ships have. There's Adventure Ocean. Carnival has their Dr. Seuss Camp Ocean, and their Dr. Seuss partnership for other types of activities. On those would be my shorter cruise. Royal Freedom class ship, maybe this shorter cruise, or Carnival has so many to choose from in the short market there. I don't know. What are you thinking, John?
No, I think that was a really good answer. And I think it's a little bit subjective, because there's so many unknowns there. Because having a 4-year-old, that's you and the baby are so used to being at home, and so have you traveled before? How well does the travel? Does that baby travel? And then, of course, now you're going into a totally unique space, like a cruise ship, which is, really like it's like a resort, but there's still so many unknown things. Is the child going to be happy to go to the kids club? Are you both going to get a vacation where it's a good thing? Usually, I think the kids that age are pretty good about it, where they really enjoy it, because so that's a benefit, but it's not every day. Like the kids club isn't necessarily available 24/7. Sometimes people think that it is, but it's actually not. So there's times when you're going to have the child with you for a long period of time, and which is great. But I think the shorter cruise would kind of help wrinkle out any unknowns, and then you can leapfrog to a longer one with a better knowledge of how everybody travels and how the experience is going to be, because you wouldn't want to be in a longer one and run into a lot of pitfalls.
And plus, those shorter ones too tend to be Bahamas, Caribbean, so it's probably what you're thinking about when you're going for. I would never recommend do your first cruise in like Alaska, or fly out to do round trip Barcelona. Even though those are great itineraries and definitely something we've done and we recommend, but I think the first cruise, get your feet wet. I know a lot of times people ask like, "Oh, I want to go on a 5-day cruise," and listen, we got to tell the cruise lines this. So many times people ask us like, "What's a good 5-day cruise?" And I'm like, there's very rarely a 5-day itinerary. It's just the way
there used to be.
I guess there used to be, but now it's always 3 and 4 because it has to be a total of 7 or 7 days.
8 and 6.
Or 8 and 6, 8 and 6 ends at 14. So in 2 weeks you have that 7-day rotation.
Yeah, there used to be 7 and 5s before. 7. 5s and 3s and 7s. Usually, like the 5 and 3 would alternate, and then the 7 would be. Now they've like Carnival did like 8 and 6s, and I think other ones have done it too. But yeah, so that's why I think I like 5s. 5's perfect.
Well, 4 days aren't bad. So if you do one of the 4-day cruises, they tend to be Monday through Friday, right? So you board the ship Monday, so you still have to take a full day out of work, full week work.
I just want to tell me myself that there's a few things that when you bring a child, and really anybody, especially kids, is and everybody going back to packing, is pack a lot of. We use like SPF 50 spray, suntan spray. We go to a place where it's affordable and it's really good quality, maybe a warehouse club, buy a bulk of it. We keep it, in our house, and when we travel, we take it with us. You pack it in your check luggage, and have more than you need, and maybe some aloe if there's any burns, because with the babies and the kids, they want to be in the pool and the stuff like in the pool and the beach and everything like that. And you're in this really intense sun, which we lived in Florida. We thought we knew what, you think you're kind of like sun tough, because you're exposed to the sun a lot, but there's nothing like being on a cruise ship or a Caribbean beach. The intensity is so intense, and you're dealing with water, and the water can take stuff off. So you need to really, really, before you leave your cabin, go on the balcony, whatever you're comfortable with, wherever you put it on properly, and make sure everything's covered, because if this one part of the ear is not covered, it can ruin your trip. You can get sun poisoning and blistering. As you might imagine, it can be a really bad thing. So take the time, bring that from home, because you're not going to find it easily anywhere, and especially affordable. You think you would, but it's one of those things. So pack that, take those precautions. Don't wait till you get to the beach. Don't wait till you get to the pool. You could, but be careful.
I think that's a great point. We don't have any kids, so we can't speak from personal experience, but I'm sure, we've definitely seen adults at least getting sunburned. So
adults. This is for adults and kids. I mean, because I did it one time. I said I'm gonna get zapped. I'm gonna get a good zap. That's actually my word. I ain't lying. This is straight from my mouth to this phone here, this camera. And I got sun poisoning, and you wouldn't believe how bad it was. Fevers. I mean, I'll say all the details, but I never experienced anything like that. And all it was just a one bad afternoon.
Yeah. So I think that not a great way necessarily to end, and actually just a little shout out from our friend Sherry here at Cruise Tips TV. She's giving you props, John, for that. So, we love Sherry. If you don't know Sherry, check her out at Cruise Tips TV all over social. Amazing family, amazing Sherry, and an amazing family cruiser. And
Sherry, we met years ago at Sea Trade. Really cool. I got to meet Sherry at Sea Trade a couple years ago. Really, really nice. I haven't seen her since, but then I haven't been to Sea Trade yet. But I hope to see her again.
Sea Trade. Sherry, where were you? Sea Trade, and you weren't there either, John. You're leaving us hanging, but we still got to see some good friends this time around. So we need suntan lotion, I guess, was the main takeaway. That bring lots of suntan.
Yes, and aloe too, because if you get any burns, where are you going to buy the aloe from? You can't go to the 7-Eleven or the CVS or Walgreens. It's going to be a really long drive. So think of just be prepared. Be prepared. That's why we're recommending these things. You don't need to bring your whole medicine cabinet, but just be strategic about it. Those vital things that think about what if. We all get headaches, we all get suntan, we all get burned sometimes. What are you going to put on it? So,
things not to forget. That was the topic tonight, John. We could go on all night talking.
I know we have this great combination. We could just chat about this stuff and just roll. It's very fluid.
Yeah, we love to cruise stuff. So, if folks don't already know, where can they find you?
Find me?
Yeah,
I'm right here.
Not like your address, like on the internet.
I'm in Georgia right now.
I'm
in the woods in Georgia.
That's it. That's not a good place to go cruising.
Oh, okay, it sounds kind of weird, but no, I'm in a www. Oh, that sounds really old. Right.
We went through this last time, John. I don't think you need the www for your awesome website. It's cruiseaddicts.com. Just say that, I think.
Cruiseaddicts.com, and also at Cruise Addicts. We're everywhere. So, and Don, where can they find you, sir?
They can also find us everywhere at Eat Sleep Cruise. Although, unfortunately, YouTube, it's at Eat Sleep Cruise 1. But if you put in Sleep Cruise, it's us. And then eatsleepcruise.com. Always reach out to us. Heidi and I, even though Heidi's not here, love to hear from folks. And we're going to have to get a schedule out because we want to do more regular lives. That way, you know when these are coming, and we just don't drop them on you last minute. So
hey, can we do a live? Can we do a live since we're getting an audience here? Really appreciate all these lovely people. I gotta say, we have like 56 comments here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not one of them are making fun of us yet, have they?
I don't know.
And we didn't even talk that much about food.
I know, but can we do like a special live stream in Brooklyn when we go to Brooklyn in a couple of days? We can frame like
it's a week, right? It's next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's so wait, we're on the ship Friday. So but you're coming in Thursday, right?
Yeah, so we should I don't know what maybe we're gonna
Well, we could do a preview. Let's do like an MSC Mervelia preview. I've been on the ship, but that was years ago. You haven't been on this class yet, right?
No.
So actually, we gotta check. Have you gotten side conversation, folks? Feel free to join in. Have you gotten your confirmation for like where we're supposed to stay and stuff?
I have nothing.
Okay, so Heidi and I were talking about this earlier. Like it's next weekend. I mean, we have the email invites for the media event, but no like details with confirmation numbers. Here's where to go, et cetera, et cetera.
Zero.
We got to get on that. But I was thinking if we hopefully at the same hotel, we could just do something. Yeah, do something.
Yeah, we can just something quick. And the whole point is like live from Brooklyn. I don't know. The Gravy Chronicles.
The Gravy Chronicles?
I don't know. I'm just being silly.
I mean, we'd be thrown out of it, but you just go to like a local pizzeria or something, or a pizza place there, and like start doing it. People, first of all, how many people must do that in New York? I mean, New York must have a ton of vloggers and content creators, right? But yeah, let's folks. So we'll figure it out. So we'll talk offline, but something next Thursday, some kind of live from New York, just like Saturday Night Live.
There you go.
There you go.
You know, I was born there.
Oh, in New York, right? Yeah. The audience doesn't know, but you can tell. So you're going back to your roots. That's where it all began.
Yep. 914 yo.
Not the sign. We can do it down there. But thanks again, folks. I'm Don from Eat Sleep Cruise.
I'm John with Cruise Addicts. And excuse me, like I said, I'm crazy from the heat here. My air conditioner's having problems today. I'll get back to my normal stuff next time.
All right, sounds good. And we'll see you in New York.
Yes, see you in New York. And it'll be live from there, hopefully.
Awesome. All right. Night.
Night, everybody.